Hi, welcome to this edition of Cuss N Discuss. I'm your host, Steve Cutie. Today we have Flynn Stewart and Ginger Duke. And today's topic is, what are your thoughts on supplements? Ken from Wyoming. So that's kind of a slippery slope when we talk about supplements, but who wants to start?
Well, I will. Our feeding program is we feed our grain, which is grain with oats and corn and soybean meal and all of that. And then we feed an alfalfa pellet that's made by High Pro Feed Company in Littlefield, Texas. And they contain supposedly all the minerals that these horses really need. So and then we feed coastal hay, but that's just pretty, and we just don't have to feed any supplements. Our horses always look good and do good on it, and the good part is the feed we get from Munster over there and Tony's feed store, and it's made to a mix that I formulated several years ago, and it's about 16% fat and 20% protein, and that's just what it is.
So no supplements really?
No, well, just that alfalfa pellet.
Right. We can classify that as hay. Even though, yes, so we don't get it from the haters. I understand it's a legume and it's not a hay, but we're going to call it hay just for the purpose of calling it hay. So
now it has it has a vitamin and mineral package in it.
Okay.
Which I guess you could call that a supplement. I don't know.
Yep. So, what do you have, Ginger?
On my performance horses on the road, I feed cubes, and I'll add a little bit of like Healthy Coat, just to get a little, shine on their coats. For my older horses, I'll do a joint supplement, but not. I don't really do a lot of supplementation unless my vet just thinks that they need it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not a. I feel like some people look in the book like, oh, I should feed my horse this supplement and this supplement,
Right.
And half the time it's probably something that they're just pooping out the money because the horse doesn't really need it.
Right. Yeah.
So, unless I've discussed it with my vet and he thinks they need something specific, I don't do a whole lot of supplements.
I try not to do too much in the supplement department myself, but I think about, if we're looking at it, look at like having your soil tested, right? Because you can just go throw stuff on it, and it may not need the stuff that you're throwing on it, and the stuff that you're not may be the stuff that you need, right? Sure. So,
exactly.
You get it tested. So I'm sure, you could have the vet pull blood on your horses and take hair samples or whatever it may be, and find out what your horse is deficient in or whatever that may be, and then get the supplement that would correct that. But, I try to feed as much.
Do we consider a mineral block a supplement?
Is
it in that category? Because I do have mineral salt blocks out.
I said, right, it's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Because, here's the thing is, I supplement salt, right? Because the salt, to me, they don't get enough salt in the feed that we're feeding, to me. Because we're in Texas, it's hot, it's humid, and to me the easiest way to ensure that my horses are always drinking plenty is to heavily salt them. So with that being said, I have no idea personally if extra salt gives my horses high blood pressure. I have no idea. None of them's ever dropped over dead from a heart attack, so nobody's stroked out, so I assume that it probably doesn't, but I don't know that for sure. And if you have a question, then consult your vet, because maybe they have the answer, because I don't. So then you can technically say salt is a supplement because that's additional to what you're putting in the feed.
Yeah.
But I know you feed the alfalfa cubes, and they don't really get grain. See, I feed a lot of, when we can get it, we get it from Arizona, but the teff hay because it's a higher protein. And we're doing alfalfa right now because we're waiting for a teff to come in season. We feed it, but I feed a lot of hay. Generally, I try to do it free choice. Not so much free choice on the alfalfa, but when we do the teff, I try to feed it free choice, and then we feed strategy or blue bonnet, you know, so 14% pellet. And the reason that we do it, one, is because if you're showing, you can generally get strategy anywhere in the U.S. Blue bonnet's pretty regional, you know, Tony's regional, right? So you're kind of limited on what you do unless you just haul a bunch of grain with you when you go. The problem is, you know, I've had some deals with supplement companies, and you know, we've had good and bad with it.
Yes.
And you know, everybody's got their scientific formulas, and they've got all the things that they think make work. But you know, the thing that we talk about is that you know, just look at, you know, my wife. We were talking about this yesterday, right? Is that her diet and my diet? Like, I can live on cheese and pasta, right? She can live on it, and she's just not happy living on it because it doesn't work for her the way it works for me. Yeah. So it's the same thing, I think, with the horses. So you've got to adjust it, and you can tell by looking at your horses. But I'm just not one of those guys that really advocate, you know, just throwing a bunch of stuff in there because they need it. You know, I've had a lot of customers that swear by, and some of the vets that are in the barn with me that swear by platinum. And you know, I'm not saying it's good or bad. The horses that are on platinum look good, but we don't really have any horses that really look bad that aren't on it. Okay, so I mean, you know, if it's your peace of mind, then it's good. And I mean, I don't believe that you're wasting your money. You know, I just have a hard time trying to understand why, if you want to feed a supplement that would have, you know, say colostrum or something to help them gain weight, and your horse is already obese, why would you waste the money in feeding something that has colostrum in it because of? Yes. I mean, because to me, that's just wasting money. You know, but as far as, you know, you can, right, try to keep it on the KISS method, right? To keep it simple, stupid, right? If that horse has got plenty of hay to eat, plenty of things to munch on, you know, he's not going to generally have ulcers. Yeah. Because he's always got something to munch on. You know, when they're in a barn 24 hours a day, or a stall, and they only get a little flake of hay and they only get a little scoop of grain, there's a lot of hours where they're not doing anything, and then they develop bad habits, and then they can get ulcers, and then they're stressed and they're worried. But if they always have something to eat, that extra flake or two of hay is cheap over the long term, because he's not eating your stall, and you're not paying for you know, ulcer guard. And I mean, because ulcer guard's not cheap. No. It works, but it's not cheap, you know, whereas you can buy a bale of hay for $10, you know, and an extra bale of hay every 2-3 days is a lot cheaper than, you know, vet treatment. You bet. And
well, and at home, our training horses, we feed in hay nets, and they have hay in front of them 24/7. For me, on the road, the cubes are more consistent. It's easier to find cubes anywhere I go. I can go to a Tractor Supply anywhere if I needed to and get cubes. So for me on the road, you know, it's easier for you. You're here majority of the time. So it's easier, just like us, it's easier back home. We pull off round bales and stuff in the nets, and then we hang them, and they're just in front of the horses all the time. So I just feel like, too, some of that on the feeding and supplements is probably depends a lot on where you live and how you live and how much you travel. And
I mean, because it's the horse biz, right? And everybody's got opinions on stuff. So if you say, oh, I feed just straight alfalfa cubes and I don't feed any grain, then you're like the Antichrist, right? But if you feed coastal hay and you feed this kind of grain, well, then you're crazy, because that doesn't work, right? I mean, like, everybody's got their own opinion on whatever it may be, and you have to do whatever's convenient for you, and you know how to make those things work. Because you know, if you can't get teff hay, then by you know, there's horses that live on plain old grass.
Yeah, I mean? Mine do at home.
Yeah, and
mine
I mean,
are turned out.
and they're all fine, and nobody has any issues, you know. But if you live in Arizona where there's no grass, and they have access to a bunch of irrigated alfalfa, then that's what those horses are going to get. Okay, so the alfalfa cubes at that point, or alfalfa pellets, are way more convenient because you can control it. And you know, it goes back to another topic that we had before, was that, you know, when you talk about feeding alfalfa cubes, if you want to control your money and save, is weigh that stuff. Because if you throw a flake of hay in, that stuff gets wasted, it gets mixed in with the feed, you know, or the bedding, and then you lose a lot of it as feed, right? But if you do the alfalfa cubes and you weigh it, then just because you have a 5-gallon bucket doesn't mean it weighs the same every 5-gallon bucket. Because if you got the crumbles,
yeah,
that 5-gallon bucket may weigh 20 pounds, right? And if you got the full cubes,
am I supposed to be weighing it?
You can do it. It's your money.
I mean, I free, like, yeah, they get free choice, yeah, cubes.
No, I mean, so again, right, it makes no difference. But yeah, I'm just saying, if you're looking at feeding a bunch of horses, those dollars add up, because if you overfeed each feeding by just a pound,
yeah,
that's 2 pounds per horse. You know, 30 horses, that's 60 pounds a day.
Yeah.
Right? And say a bag, what's a bag cost you? Just roughly?
$9.
Okay, so say $10, right? So $10 a day times 30 days, right? There's $300 that got wasted just because because you overfed. And I have no problem if you want to overfeed it, but I'm just saying that, you know, that's the way that you have to think of things. Yeah, I mean, there's ways to rein it in and be able to control it. But you know, again, just talking about that slippery slope when it comes to supplements. And, you know, I mean, if you're a supplement person, then by all means. I mean, I've been to barns where there's horses, and I've had them come into me. I mean, the horses get like 7 different things. You know, a scoop of this and a little scoop of that, and you give him a pinch of this, and in the evening you got to rub a little of this on his nose, and you got to make sure you dip his tongue in this like a fun stick, and you know what I mean. There's all these things that you have to do every day, and that just makes it really impractical. Yes, and if you have one horse, it's easy to do and it's easy to manage. When you have 30 horses, it becomes that much more difficult to do those things, and to make sure that horse has all the things that it needs to have. And you know, so supplements, again, slippery slope. Do what suits you best and what makes you sleep well at night.
Yes.
And making sure that you know, Bunny has all the little things that she needs. And you know, if you want to feed them carrots, I mean, then they're going to have better eyesight, right? So by all means, if you want to treat them, treat them. If you don't, don't. Just make sure that, you know, the basic needs are covered, right? As long as they've got access, to me, like I say, right, pretty much free choice hay. They get a little bit of grain if they're working, because they're going to need the extra energy and the fat. And they've got clean water. Generally, that's all a horse needs.
Yeah,
that's right.
Right, because they've made it thousands of years without us jacking with them, so they're pretty comfortable with what's going on. So, I hope that answers your question, Ken, from Wyoming. So I know we didn't really get to what you needed, maybe, but again, you know, be sure that in the comments below you put what you feed and why you feed it. You know, if you're a supplement fan, or what your favorite supplements are, and you know, be sure and share us and like us with what we've got going on. And again, like I always say, if you don't like us, make sure that you hit that button twice, because I just want to be sure that you know. And we want to thank our guest today, Flynn Stewart and Ginger Duke. And as always, I'll catch you on the flip-flop.